I'd like to welcome each one here this evening. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather as the traditional territory of the Nishnawbe, Ottawa, and Mississauga peoples. Confirmation of the agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves the agenda for November 17th, 2025 council meeting as presented. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Whitfield, would carry, all in favor? Carried. Oh boy, start off right. Disclosure of pecuniary interests and the general nature thereof. Seeing none. Consent agenda that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby adopts consent items 4.1.1 to 4.1.2, and further that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives consent items 4.1.3 to 4.3.12 for information purposes. Before we ask for anything, we do have a mover. Councillor Van Hitterson, seconder, Deputy Reeve. Would anybody like to pull anything forward? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. I'd like to pull 4.3.7, and it's about no HST on new homes. So it's a letter of support to the Township of McGarry.
Okay, thank you. 4.3.7. And Councillor Van Hitterson, please.
I would like to pay some attention to point 4.2.1, Bill 60 for the planning department. And I was wondering if our planner Laura could explain a little bit about the effects for the municipality.
Okay, at this time I'll ask Laura to come forward. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Council. So I'm Laura Simpson for the councillors who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet. I'm the reassigned municipal planner for, from the county for North Huron. I previously covered North Huron as my municipal assignment from 2015 to 2019. So now I'm happy to be back and in familiar grounds. I live about 10 minutes away. So now that I've introduced myself, I'll discuss Bill 60. So this is the new bill put forward by the provincial government and is open for commenting until November 22nd. So the hope is that the planning department has kind of put together a summary of some of the proposed changes that are most applicable to Huron County and the municipalities within it, with the way some of the development and planning structures are. And the hopes are that by bringing it to local councils tonight and tomorrow night, it can go to county council with the same report on day 2 on Wednesday. And that if there are any collective comments that the mayors and reeves can bring forward to county council, they could be forwarded through the commenting process to the province if the county council so wishes. So to summarize, there are probably within 40 initiatives and changes to a variety of acts within this bill. So most specifically, we focused on the Planning Act. Some of these are positive, including the community improvement plans. This is that the county can also have a community improvement plan in addition to the municipal ones that are already available to provide funding for various projects across a municipality. So that is nice that there is a second tier opportunity for funding to be accessed for certain development projects. One of the other initiatives is to streamline municipal application processes. So the province is hoping to begin a process where they can track certain types of developments to be able to gain numbers and an understanding on what types of developments are occurring across the province and where they're occurring and in what quantity, and hopefully the timeline behind them. And we're thinking this is also tied to municipalities that have provincial targets for housing. Huron County does not have the provincial set targets for housing, but we are using the cloud permit system. So we do tally, that's an online application process. Some municipalities are using it for planning and building. All are using it for our planning applications. So we are able to use that to track the types of development that we have. And we do tend to do a tally at the end of the year of what types of development applications we have and where they're occurring across the county. So we are working to continuously track that year over year for ourselves and for our own knowledge as well. There is an initiative and a requirement for ministers' decisions. So those are ministerial zoning orders, MZOs. They're not really applicable to Huron County per se because we've never had one applied here. They tend to be around larger industrial or commercial areas where an MZO is used by the province to kind of be able to enact a development without a lot of the planning or otherwise approvals, perhaps under an environmental act or things like that. So that can proceed in a quicker fashion, but we've never had any of those within the county. One is that there is proposed to vary the application of minor variances so that if someone was able to make an application previously for a minor variance asking for slight relief from what the zoning bylaw would tell them, they can make the application for a minor variance. It comes to the Committee of Adjustment and request for approval. Now they're saying that you can have prescribed performance standards, so you can have them altered in that if, for example, you had a 6-meter setback from something, you could have a certain percentage either above or below that, and that you would be able to seek that difference from what the minimum is without having an application of a minor variance. So the example given is 10% in the report, and our comments on that are just understanding that depending on what relief you're seeking, 10% could be significant. For example, the example given is that 6-meter setback from the front of a property is given, but if you consistently have people going 10% under that, you could look at a space where there's not enough room in front of a house for a car to fit, for example. We also have minimum setbacks that are quite flexible from side lot lines at 1.5 meters, and that's building code driven. So we wouldn't be able to reduce those for building code standards. So that's something they're considering. One that is applicable to municipalities is septic systems for on-farm worker housing. So there has been obviously an increased need for on-farm worker housing and to be able to provide a variety of housing types for farm workers living out in a rural area. Previously, if septic systems were under 10,000 liters per day, it was under the Ontario Building Code. Anything over that would require an environmental compliance ECA from the province. They're now suggesting that to support the construction of on-farm worker housing, anything up to 50,000 liters a day would be under the Ontario Building Code instead of the province. So that does mean that there would be additional training and requirements for local septic inspectors to understand what goes into a system up to that 50,000 liters a day and dealing and working with systems they previously were not at that large scale. So that's something that could impact municipalities as they need to provide additional training and just work in general for their local septic inspectors. There is also the official plan streamlining that they're proposing. So this is one where they're looking at consistency across the province for official plans, whether it's in their size and scope, as well as the contents that they contain. There's a lot in the report kind of about how we structure our official plans, both the upper tier one at the county as well as the local municipal ones. And the local municipal township plans do tend to contain a lot more information. They discuss the character of the municipality, and they also go into detail about the designations and the land uses as well. So this is something that the report offers up Huron County as an example, because we actually have never had to do an amendment to the county official plan. All of our amendments have taken place at the local official plans, and that speaks to the fact that we have a very flexible, wide-ranging land use construction out of the upper tier official plan at the county. So there's a lot on that. And that's something still we don't really have a lot of detail on how they're thinking of that. One of the proposals was kind of reducing the size of them and perhaps making your official plans relevant to the size of your population, which we already do have quite smaller official plans across the county. But that doesn't also speak to that we do have a lot of wide range use of land. So we have the hazard lands, the lakeshore. We have a lot to say about agricultural uses that perhaps another local area wouldn't have to speak on. So that's something we're providing comments on. There's also consideration for the minimum lot sizes for urban residential land. So the approach we've taken through residential intensification specifically as this hopes that by creating smaller lots, you'd have the ability to have more infill. We've taken the approach through our residential intensification that we allow more housing types on lots so that you can increase the density in a way that you can use the existing lot fabric and still be able to provide a variety of housing and more housing units per lot. So that's something we've done through the variety of the housing friendly lens when we redid the local official plan and zoning bylaws. And we also did other things to encourage flexibility per residential lot, like reducing the number of parking and higher lot coverage to allow more building per lot. So an example is also given kind of as a word of caution is that existing lot fabric, when they're quite small, can over time run into problems when you're attempting to rebuild. The example given is the Goderich tornado, very, very small lots that did not meet the codes of today from when they were established and attempting to rebuild. So just knowing that we do still want to have some flexibility, but still be able to, as of right, allow people to build a lot of different types of housing with different densities to make the most of the property that they have. And then there's also communal water and wastewater systems. So again, this is one for municipalities that would affect them. It's consulting on how to further expand the use of communal water and wastewater systems for new development in rural communities. So this would be areas that don't have sanitary sewer or as well as municipal wells. They're looking to have communal systems. And then that thus would require for permanent year-round development, municipal shared responsibility agreements. So this would be something that municipalities would take on if they chose to operate any communal systems, and they would therefore be responsible for the operation and existence of those kind of in perpetuity to support the development. So there's not a lot of examples of these across the county, mostly because there has not been the appetite for the municipality to take on that level of responsibility and carry on that level of keeping the standard for water and sewer at the municipal level outside of what they're already servicing through municipal wells and sanitary systems. So that's something they're consulting on, I think, to see what level of interest municipalities have in expanding their communal systems. So yes, that's the summary of most of those. And the ones that are most applicable, the kind of as chosen from Bill 60 amongst all the changes. So if there's anything I can discuss further or any comments that I'm sure you'd like to take to council.
I appreciate your high level view. Now, are there any questions from any councilors? Oh, seeing none. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Reed.
Yes, I'd like to pull out and speak on the 4.3.8 to 4.3.12, the Waterloo Regional Community Foundation, the advance funds. I'd like to congratulate the on the being the recipient of the funds for 5 of our projects for the township. It's greatly appreciated. It'll help upgrade our resources. My question to you, Reeve, is the projects and the money are going towards township assets as a whole, and I don't recall getting a scope of the projects presented to council as to how much of the projects tax dollars are going into the projects. Like I don't think it's 100% funding. At least I don't, because I don't know how the breakdown is of all the projects as to how much falls onto taxpayers. And being that we're going into budget, whether we have as a council any say whatsoever in municipal infrastructure projects that we normally used to have. And my second question is, we've been recipient of the advance funds gratefully for other projects previously, and I see we have 5 here now on this docket. It just becomes kind of worrying for me as being a representative of a ward that is not in recipient of the grants, but also as a ward that has township infrastructure mirroring the projects that are being granted funds here. If it's going to be our township's mainstay of only going after projects or doing projects that we get funding for, it's going to wind up with being an oversized budget process for projects in the wards that get the funding, get the grant funding for. And that's going to leave the other wards' infrastructure at a disadvantage if that's the process that we're going to be going through you know, we've got 5 here and I guess I'll let you answer those questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Reeve. Yes, the bridge, I think they had set aside in reserves for the bridge amount of money that was coming in. They're putting approximately 8,000 of taxpayer to that. And the other one where we didn't, the last one, we didn't have enough money left of the 182,000. We didn't have enough money left, so it's going to take approximately 8,000 more dollars for it. But I'm sure our Director Stice can clarify that for sure.
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Deputy Reeve Faulkner. The Vance funds are a receipt-funded project, funding base, which means you have to produce, I guess, a scope of the project and what that funding might be. The challenge with that is that you can only get an understanding of the pricing based on the pricing that you can get at this particular time. And often businesses will give you a 30-day and now we're seeing a lot of quotes coming in that identify, you know, these this quoting is based on tariffs. So we're now starting to see a little bit of language around that. So the challenge is real when you're working with a funder that does it receipt-based, because you can't say, well, the quote came in at 35,000, but we want to try and account for a little bit more. So there is likely going to be overages throughout this process. It's hard for us to determine how much, but we're hoping to jump on a lot of those projects right away, such as the sound system. Let's get this RFP out so that we can try and capitalize on the grant or the quotes that we were given. So I hope that answers your first question, in that, you know, it's a bit of a moving game, and we, you know, certainly as we move forward with those projects and with those requests for funds from the Vance Fund, we did that in mind that we do have recreation reserves that we might be able to draw on to meet some of those shortfalls, and that falls within the purview of us being able to do so. And I can certainly let Director Fletcher speak to that if need be. The second question around, you know, how do we focus, how are we focusing the attention to different pieces of infrastructure or different assets within the township? And I think it's incumbent upon staff to come back to council with a more balanced approach, recognizing that we had the benefit of accessing grant dollars for some projects in Wingham. And it certainly puts the township in a position to say, okay, well, we're going to upgrade the lighting at the Wingham Ball Diamonds at you know, $73,000 to $80,000, but also looking critically at, you know, how do we then evaluate the lighting needs at the Blythe Ball Diamonds, and is it the same? And certainly making sure that we come back to council with some thoughtful projects and a good rationale that is based on the master plan that we have, the recreation culture master plan, the strategic plan that council has endorsed, and then also aligning that with new and emerging needs within the township. So I think it's a multi-pronged approach, but I think, you know, it's incumbent upon staff to be able to provide that balance for council's consideration.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just in a follow-up question, then are most of the projects based on the ability to get funding for them to be brought to council and to go through? That's my question is, it could get one-sided if every year there's 5 projects that are allotted and they won't, because the funding is available. That quickly offsets the scale of projects that you're going to go after because you've got funding for them. I guess I'm not begrudging the funding. I'm glad it's there, but as you can see in an award system, how that, when it's not applied to other infrastructure within the municipality, how is the municipality going to even that out? Is what, and are the projects that don't have funding just not going to get brought forward? That's all.
Okay, Councillor Palmer, you have response to this?
I think Director Stice sort of answered that, and that's a question I was going to ask. The money, the Vance Fund is certainly a blessing to the municipality, to the Wingham ward. But for the other wards, I think council has to, well, staff would have to bring forward potential projects in the other wards, just to even it out. And it's relieving funds that North Huron would have to pay for these projects in Wingham. So it's only fair that we look at other projects to the south.
Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, so Rita, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with the other councillors. I think it's important that the same amount of tax money be spent in all three wards, right? But essentially, the councillor is suggesting less tax revenue should be spent in the Wingham ward because we're lucky enough to have a grant system here, right? And, I'm just gonna throw up as a dissenting voice. I don't agree with that approach. I think the same amount of tax money should be spent on these services equally through the three wards. Less tax money shouldn't be spent in the Wingham ward, simply because we're lucky enough to have this generate grant program in front of us. Thank you.
Okay, no, go ahead, just. wrap
Last
it down.
point, it's not that we would be requesting less money going to the Wingham ward. It's just there's a fund going there to take care of certain projects or projects that come up, and that's wonderful. But we need to keep our eye on projects in the Blythe ward and East Swan-Ash ward as well. That's all.
Yeah, I guess I'll close off with that. I look at it as it's North Huron and we're all one. So again, at this time, I'll turn it over to our clerk.
Yeah, so I guess the original request to pull from the agenda was Councillor Palmer for 4.3.7. So provided the mover and seconder are fine with that friendly amendment, that would be the mover was Councillor Van Henderson and the seconder was Councillor Falconer.
Okay. You fine with that, Deputy? You fine with that?
You were the seconder of the, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Call that vote.
Okay, and
Yeah, call that vote.
all in favor? Carried.
And then your second motion is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby directs staff to send a letter of support for agenda item 4.3.7. Councillor Palmer's your mover and you're looking for a second.
Seconder? Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. No public meetings or hearings at this point. Now we're moving down to 6.3.1, the Blythe Community Hall refurbishment. Are there any questions for Director Stice at this time? Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Thank you, Riva, I was just wondering with the direction is not, or the advice is not to do too much. But is there a request from the organizations that do or do not pay rent to have the hall adjusted somehow? Or the kitchen or anything like that? Or are they fine the way it is right now?
Through you, Reeve Heffer, to Councillor Van Henderson. We have not received any requests from the community for upgrading or making any, providing any renovations to that second floor space. I think it was in about 2016 where we had last had a significant number of community groups for the bingos and that type of thing. The kitchen currently is in good working order. We wouldn't recommend making any changes to the kitchen equipment. It's just mainly refurbishing this space.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Director? Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Thank you, Reeve. Yeah, I was alarmed at the engineer's thoughts, the initial thoughts that came out about the structure and the load. And that would be a very expensive fix, I think. Yeah, I kind of favor the idea of staff exploring other uses on top of the uses that are there. Would be,
So are you putting that motion forward?
oh boy, I hate putting motions too soon to let other
Okay.
people talk.
Yeah, we'll have question period first. Okay, Counselor Wright, please.
Yeah, so just a couple comments, not really questions. First, I think the use of the space reflects the space itself, right? The space has definitely seen a lot of mileage. I think that is probably one of the reasons why rentals are so low. And I think we would expect to see that if it was fixed up and brought to a like new condition, that rentals would go up dramatically. My only other comment is I see it as a core responsibility of a municipality to have to provide places where the community can gather.
Mhm.
And from the first time I did the council tour of that hall, I saw that as a project that we should take on, because the community dies if they don't have a space to gather and be together. So I'm certainly going to be in favor of option 2 myself, Reeve. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, at this time, I'd like one of the members to bring forward a motion there. 1 or 2 is what we've been given. Counselor Wright, please.
Thank you, Reeve. So I'll put forward option 2 on the table to proceed with the engineering process on refurbishing the space.
The clerk read it. Seconder, do we have a seconder? Counselor Whitfield? The seconder? Okay, so I'll let you read it before we go to a vote.
So the motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report from the Director of Recreation and Children's Services dated November 17, 2025 regarding the Blythe Community Hall refurbishment, and further the council directs the Director of Recreation and Children's Services to proceed with option number 2 as detailed in staff report FA 2025-05.
Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Carried. No, sorry, defeated. I'm sorry, defeated. There's only 2 there. Okay, at this time, the only other option is option 1. Would somebody bring that forward, please? Counselor Palmer?
I'll make a motion that we go for option 1.
Okay. May I have a mover? Seconder, I mean. Go ahead. Counselor Van Hitterson? Do you want to read it? Go ahead, read it, please.
So the motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report from the Director of Recreation and Children's Services dated November 17, 2025 regarding the Blythe Community Hall refurbishment, and further that council directs the Director of Recreation and Children's Services to proceed with option number 1 as detailed in staff report FA 2025-05.
Okay. We. Yep, go ahead. Yep. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. The motion to receive with no major investments and the renovation of the space, staff should be exploring potentials of other uses. Clarification on the other uses? I don't know. Most of the usage that's dropped in that hall was, as being explained to me, was at the increase in the rental costing for the hall got out of the reach of most most people's using that space for what it is, being the age it is, the sound, the leaking the roof, the whatsoever. The only uses that are currently being used there are when there's a hockey tournament or a broomball tournament, and it's an observation and a concession. So I'm just curious as to what the other uses would lead to with the space being in the condition that it is.
Go ahead. Director Stice, please.
Through you, Reeve Heffer to Deputy Reeve Faulkner. I think some of the ideas for other uses would be minimal impact. So would there be workshops that we would want to try and encourage to happen in that space? Would there be training opportunities? So things that wouldn't require major investment in that space, but would still create a space for people to gather and belong.
Okay, go ahead, Deputy Reeve, please.
What's been holding the municipality back from doing that for that space that they should be doing all along? It's a rentable space by the municipality. And it sounds like if we're just gonna look now for things to do there, then that kind of puts us as being part of that problem. It should have been looking there at that all along. There's been things go on there. There's been fitness programs put on there. There has been training sessions there. There have been community meetings there. That really doesn't answer that question for me, but
why we have wrapped into looking at a long-term lease agreement for the Blythe Library. That's got nothing to do with are we going to spend money on the rec space in Blythe or not, right? So to be honest, I see this as here's an opportunity to renovate a space, improve it, bring it back to its original condition, and another feel-good option. But the other feel-good option really isn't anything tangible. It's just basically do nothing, right? Well, if we basically do nothing, what's that hall going to look like in another 10 years? What's it going to look like 20 years after that? This arena is not going anywhere, right? We're going to be running this arena for a long time. And to continually see a space run down year after year after year to spend no money on it, I just don't see the point of it. It's an asset. It exists. It has to be maintained. Thank you, Reeve.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Some of this is making sense. Certainly the long-term lease should be eliminated from it. This is just thinking. Now, what scared me was the design work for the library, which would be total structural, be a very, very expensive. But I'm all in favor of for staff to investigate how it can be modernized to attract more usage. And I think that's maybe what some are thinking about, I'm hoping. Does that, is there any traction to that one? Because we could easily make an amendment to this now. Or change it, because it's just been what Lonnie and me, it hasn't been passed. We can make changes.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask our CAO, please.
Thank you, Reeve, through you two members of council. Again, the original impetus of this report was based on the public conversation around wanting to relocate the library about a year ago. And that was the investigation into what would it take to bring the library from its current location to the second floor at the Blythe Center. So part of the research and review done by staff was investigating the structural piece needed to make that happen. It's that additional structure, that reinforcement that's going to be required, which is the heavy lifting here, which would be the expensive piece. Council's direction would be for us to, if we're going to refurbish a light refurbishing of a space, for example, let's take down the unused bingo numbers that are on the wall. Let's realign the space, fresh coat of paint, redesign some of the flooring that would fit the uses. I think that's something that's already internally being discussed in terms of taking those down, and that will be presented back to council in terms of what a cost would look like. But again, that's very lower end in terms of improvements and internal renovations versus the full scope of the library. The intention of lumping in the library resolution here was to help ease the public's mind of the not moving the library from its current space. We don't have a long-term lease with that space right now, and there's some needs in that existing space for improvement by the landlord. And the landlord has noted some concerns about making those types of investments if he doesn't have a longer-term lease. So that's kind of why the two were lumped together. So one, trying to address the library question as a whole and try to ease the public as well as provide that consistent service where they seem to enjoy it. And the second part is, yes, we recognize there's a need for some type of redressing of the second floor to make it more, palpable and more attractive for future events. So that's kind of where we were going with the minor facelift for it, but that still has to be presented to council.
Thank you. Counselor Palmer, please.
Okay, so that being said, so does it mean that it's in the works, or does there have to be a notice of motion regarding that?
I mean, I can look to Director Stice, but I think our direction has been that we're going to do some facelift for it and then provide you with an estimate for cost in the 2026 budget. And then you can give us direction from there.
Okay, Deputy Reed, please.
Regardless of the direction that is taken, if the one way or the other, I think that the general public should know one way or the other without any convoluted conversations about the library. If we're saying that the space is not feasible for the weight of the library, we should state that it's not feasible for the weight of the library, not take a motion that portion of it is still in there. Unless you want to keep that open, but my vote will not be for putting the library up there. But as long as this keeps in the conversation, it could get construed that that's still a possibility. So one way or the other, that should be either removed or brought back to the forefront.
Yeah, through your worship, to Deputy Falconer's question, you can easily amend the motion on the floor to state that you're no longer leaving it on the table that it could be a library in that space. As for the question of major versus minor investment, option one says proceed with no major investment. That does not eliminate the minor investment that you are requesting. And that would just be carried out through the money you put in your budget process. But again, if that's something you're looking for in 2026 budget process, you can provide that direction as well. Clearly as part of the motion as well. It's all how council wants to structure the motion.
So Counselor Palmer, you had a motion there, and the way our clerk expressed that, does that suit your motion?
Yes.
Go with the minor changes.
Councilor Palmer, if this isn't the amendment you're looking for, just let me know, but something along the lines of the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Recreation and Children's Services dated November 17, 2025 regarding the Blythe Community Hall refurbishment, and further that council directs the Director of Recreation and Children's Services to proceed with option number one as detailed in staff report FA 2025-05, and further that council directs for the library to no longer be relocated to the Blythe Community Hall. So Councilor Palmer's the mover, and the seconder was Councilor Van Henderson, if you're
Okay.
fine with that as well.
Okay, all in favor?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sorry.
So I'm getting more aligned with this motion. I guess I just want to understand for clarity what it means by no major investment. So it's $10,000 a major investment, is 50, is 100. I want to make sure we don't misdirect staff on this. Because I could easily see that being $100,000 refurbishment. I would personally call that a major investment, but I would still want to see it happen. So I would like clarification on that, please.
So through your worship, my recommendation is that council provides that direction through this motion.
Deputy Reed, please.
Thank you, Reed. Yeah, that was my intent earlier when I was speaking to the refurbishment of township assets through the Vance Fund. All those projects have not come under the scrutiny that this motion has for a township asset. So you're treating one asset with a totally different set of regulations than the other, so.
Okay. So do you want to?
So I would like to propose a friendly amendment if I could, and we just take out that words. We basically start the motion with proceed with an investment in a renovation of the space, and let staff do their work and come up with some options on what that looks like, so that we don't accidentally handcuff them if that's not our intention.
Okay, okay, and we have, are you all right with that? Okay, good. Just wait. Second for Clerk Lamb here, please. I think it should be
Yeah, so again, if this is not your intent, please let me know, but it would be something along the lines of that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives a report from the Director of Recreation and Children's Services dated November 17, 2025 regarding the Blythe Community Hall refurbishment, and further that council directs staff to proceed with minor investments in the space, and further that council directs for the library to no longer be relocated to the Blythe Community Hall.
So that wasn't the intention. We just switched no major with minor. I just wanted to say proceed with an investment.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby receives the report from the Director of Recreation and Children's Services dated November 17, 2025 regarding the Blythe Community Hall refurbishment, and further that council directs staff to proceed with an investment in the space, and further that council directs for the library to no longer be relocated to the Blythe Community Hall. So Councillor Wright, does that capture your friendly amendment you're proposing? So Councillor Palmer and Councillor Van Hursum,
We'll get a report back for that's in the motion, or does it need to be in there?
there's currently not a report
budget
back, but
time,
it
or
would
we
be
can, like,
through the budget process.
Okay, now we're all fine with that. We have mover, seconder, all in favor. Carried.
Do we need an extra motion for staff to investigate a longer term lease agreement with the owner of the current library?
Through your worship, to answer Councilor Van Henderson's question, I would say no. We know we need a lease agreement to address that to begin with, so we don't need that council direction staff. No, we
Okay.
need to work through that.
Because it was in this this previous motion, I was wondering about it. Thank you.
This time we're going to move on to 6.4.1 Public Works 2025-37 changes to recycling programming for ICI properties follow-up report. At this time, are there any questions on the report for Director Wilson? Director Watson, sorry. Go ahead. Whichever, you had your hand up first?
Yes, thanks for your, I just wonder what, I mean, there's various options here, but what does North Huron plan to do with our own recycling? And what facilities are we gonna have for that? Like if we, because some of these options have some facilities in place, some of them are basically do nothing. So, I just want to know, like, if we choose the do nothing option, what are we gonna do for our own recycling waste? What's that look like?
Through you, Reeve, to Councillor Wright. If I may preface something before I answer your question, if I may. This report was written and filed on Wednesday of last week. We had a meeting with Waste Management on Friday, learning quite a bit more about the circular materials and how things are going to be dealt with. We are looking at a rollout for the wheelie bins for circular materials probably in Q4 of next year. It's going to take that long as Waste Management has to source out vehicles and equip them with the right equipment to pick these bins up and load their trucks. So we're going to be status quo with the bag tags until that point. That doesn't let the ICIs off the hook. We're still going to have to deal with the ICIs, okay? And we are part of that as well. So to answer your question, that will be dealt with at another time, or if you wanted to deal with it tonight, we could. But we will probably enter in a bin situation with Waste Management, and our recyclables will be picked up in the bin format, like the small green bins.
Small green.
Yeah, what,
Like the ones that the trucks pick up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
yes.
But in a way, that's kind of my point, right? So this says, you know, if we offer bins for the community to use, it's gonna have an increased cost. But if we're already renting bins for our own use, then it doesn't come at an increased cost, right? You see what I mean? We're already renting bins for the North Huron purpose that potentially we could make available to the ICI users without the industrial, just the CIs, for use, right? So that's why I wanted to get an idea of what that strategy was, because I think it does impact whether there's extra costs to provide those recycling drop-off spots for our ICI users or not. And my only other thought too is you know, Blythe is not near as convenient to a recycling location at the North Huron landfill as Wingham is, right? So I don't think it has to be all in one necessarily either. I certainly would want to see some recycling drop-off facilities in Blythe, because at the core of recycling is diversion from landfill, right? That's why we do it. So I also want to keep that in mind when we consider the option here, right? That if we think we can get away with not providing any services and therefore avoid cost, I think that's ignoring the fact that the landfill will probably fill up sooner and there's a cost associated with that as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Reeve.
Thank you. I'll just go to our treasurer at this time.
Yes, through you, Reeve, to Councillor Wright. Some of the other factors that we are looking at from the information as we're getting it in is that, yes, for all ICIs, they're stopping their pickup. So yes, we are an ICI, so we'd have to strategically place a few bins around the township so that we can manage our own recycling. That said, we're thinking about how do we manage access to those bins? Do we lock those bins if we leave them open? How many times is that going to be required to be dumped? Because the bin rental is one portion of the cost. You pay the fee every time they come and pick it up and dump it out. So if we were to provide that service to all ICIs, then we would have to look at how many bins are we going to need, because we would need significantly more than we would require for our own purposes. And then managing that access would get a little bit trickier as well, because we would have the ability to lock our own bins for our own uses. But if you're providing publicly available ones, then that becomes a little trickier from an access perspective in terms of trying to understand what the cost impact to that would be. But that is an option, and there would be a cost differential because we would have a difference in number of bins, and then it would be a to be determined or discovered in terms of how often we would have to get those emptied.
Thank you. So at this time, I saw Councillor Palmer, then Deputy Reeve, please.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. Yeah, I support having the 5 bins circulated between Wingham and Blythe. I do understand there could be not a security issue, but an overfilling issue, but maybe keys and locks would be an answer. But I see it as a service to our merchants, and for about $8,000, that's a deal compared to the 25 that we would be paying now.
Deputy Reeve, please.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Reeve. The current ICI profile that the township now or originally has, is that an agreement with all of the manufacturing and all we have an agreement with the ICI users currently? Because most other municipalities that I've looked at, the ICIs have their own agreements for their waste. And the new program doesn't take away that responsibility for them to find their own and pay for their own recycling. So like, are we, I can see like a large industry like the old ironworks, the foundry. Were we taking and responsible, the taxpayers responsible for removing and paying for all of their recycling and all their in the past. Like I don't think we were never responsible for that process. And now we're looking at ways that we have to be responsible for it now. We never were. So I just don't see why it's in our township's best interest to start looking and recreating the wheel when I don't know of any other municipality that's doing it. Why wouldn't we take the lead of other municipalities or take the same lead as every other municipality in Ontario first before we do something new?
Councillor Wright, please.
Reva, I thought we discussed this last meeting. We weren't providing recycling service to industrial users, but like the Main Street commercial services were a part of the Blue Box program. You could see it every Tuesday going down the road that the businesses would have their recycling out, right? So that would be the concept if put forward, right? It would not be to industrial users. It would just be for the existing commercial and institutional users, which were working under the Blue Box program.
Okay,
So we'd have to take one of the
Thank
eyes
you.
away.
okay, Councillor Van Hitterson, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Reeve. We have a lot of commercial businesses in East Wabaners too, and are we going to take care of those too if you put bins in Blythe, and are we going to pay for that as well because they're taxpayers too?
Okay,
So through you, Reeve, to address a couple comments from Councillor Wright, for the main streets with the downtown collections, that is under a program that I think Waste Management calls co-collection. So right now, everybody, the residences and the businesses all put their stuff on the sidewalks. Come Jan 1, the people collecting all of that recycling are still going to go around and collect the recycling at the front, like off the sidewalks. But if they are able to identify something as commercial, we have a risk that that is going to get a sticker put on it as rejected. Because come Jan 1, they are not going to be picking up recycling. So even if we were to ask them for the service to continue that co-collection on Main Street, their reply is that we will pick up on Main Street for residences, but any ICIs are going to have a bin collection system in the back. They will no longer be able to co-collect down the main street. And that was the provincial mandate to basically remove recycling costs from the municipalities and put them back onto the producers. So any recycling fees that we incur now will be voluntary, other than our own, which we have to manage.
okay, thank you. Councillor Deputy Reeve.
Yeah, thank you. Just a clarification. I believe the process is the recycling or the pickup is monitored at the facility, not in picking up at the truck. Them tagging it and not taking it is different than putting it on the truck and getting it tagged at the facility and then getting charged the refusal rate per truck as is in the agreement.
Any other, go ahead.
Thanks, Reeve. So would the driver decide,
Mhm.
basically? Okay.
Correct, because we were, sorry, through you, Reeve, to Councillor Palmer, we were asking, well, how do you know if it's residential or commercial? And yeah, that would be at the discretion of their employees as they're manually collecting that recycling.
If I may, they're probably going to make error because, because people live above these stores and they've got their boxes out as well. So it'll be tough. It'll be a learning curve.
Mhm.
Okay, Councillor Wright, please.
Yeah, so again, I just want to make sure we choose an option that doesn't result in local businesses just getting a dumpster and throwing out everything in it, and it goes to the dump. And that's going to be what's going to happen, right? People aren't going to rent two bins, one for garbage and one for recycling, and have two managed contracts, right? They're going to have one contract, one dumpster, everything will go in it, garbage, recycling, the whole thing, right? I think that's the reality of what will happen if we don't provide alternate facilities. And to Councillor Van Hitterson's comment, I was never really sure why if we have recycling at the dump, why we actually charge people a fee to put recycling into the recycling container, really follow the rules as far as landfill diversion. I think that's another option, although it wasn't an option on the table here. I think that's another option we should look at, that if people have taken the time in order to sort their waste into recycling, that recycling, depositing into a recycling bin at the dump should be a free service, not something we charge for.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to throw this out to our Director Watson at this time. Would putting those, as mentioned by one of the councillors, putting 2, let's say down in Blythe and 3 in Wingham, would that work for a while till we see how it goes? Like, could that buy us some time till we find out what these other municipalities are doing? With just a thought at that less than 8,000, and then it might be meeting the needs of what Councillor Wright was saying, the people in town, the businesses in town.
Through you, Reeve, if the council so wished to enter into a program like that, they could do it for a year, and they could gather the information from the collection, how much weight, how much volume of collectibles there is. So you would gain information from that, and just enter into it for a year and just see where it goes from there, if that was what you desired.
Deputy Reeve, please.
Through you, Reeve, this is a question for the clerk. Do we have the ability as a municipality to change or alter the ICI provincial mandate?
Through your worship to Deputy Falconer, the municipality does not have the ability to change a provincial mandate, no.
Okay. Okay, at this time, we've gone around everything and we've got lots of answers from our 2 directors there. I just wondering, would one of the councillors like to put a motion on the table? Just give you a second to look at. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Palmer, please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept option 2 and staff proceed with that.
Seconder?
Yeah, so for clarity, option number 2 is the 5 bins. In the report, it says the township would arrange for several 6-yard recycling dumpsters to be placed at readily available locations throughout the township for ICI property use, for a 1-year contract, as Director Watson explained, and there was some potential locations there. Those aren't necessarily the set in stone options. We could determine where it makes the most sense from a traffic flow perspective. But to informally quote some of the councillors, that's the $8,000 option that was being referenced before.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Sure, go ahead. Councillor Wright, please.
Back in the motion. How does the recycling program at the dump work now? I know there's recycling facilities there. I think, just for everybody's awareness, I think there's a minimum fee even if you take all recycling to the dump. Is that from the mandate we have the government, does that have to change only to residential customers using that? Are the ICI customers not allowed to use those facilities at the dump? I just want some clarification on that if there is any.
You read to Councillor Wright, the facilities at the dump will only be for residential. They will not be used for ICI. All circular materials that go over the scale, basically by the scale house, will be checked by the scale house person, and they'll be directed to apportion them to the right bins. But there won't be any ICIs accepted for those bins.
A follow-up question though, to be
Okay.
honest, how would they know? Like, if I come into the dump with my recycling, how would they know if it's from residential use or if I have a small commercial establishment, and it came from there.
Through your Reeve to Councillor Wright, that's a very good question. It'll be very much the same as how will they know on Main Street? What is what? But yeah, they, as we had talked about before, you can see recycling in the bags on Main Street from residential properties. They don't have the same look as a commercial property has. You know, you'll see a little more cardboard. There is a little bit of a difference. So yes, the guys at the Scale House, they do have a look at it and say, yes, that can go in there, or no, it cannot.
Yeah, so I'll second the councillor's motion, but then also make an amendment to it, friendly amendment if I could, because I do think we need to have some ICI facilities at the landfill as well. I just don't want to mess on our hands. I'd rather have a little bit of overkill for year one, look at usage, and then see what makes sense and reduce costs. Because like I said, I just don't want to see a bunch of cardboard and bottles going into the dump. I see that as the worst case scenario in all this. Versus, I understand we're all focused on costs, but you know, we're talking less than $10,000 a year probably for providing recycling facilities for all our commercial and institutional users for a year. So I don't think that's a ton of money.
So that would be a combination of options 2 and 3.
Yes.
So then it would be up to Councillor Palmer of whether he's willing to accept that.
I would accept that, but I have questions on how that would really work. Because right now, if we had, 5 bins around, they're gonna go to the closest bin, I would assume. As an overkill issue, well, it's a cost to that. We could try it for a year, see if it fills up, and make sure residential doesn't go into it, so it's a real picture.
Okay, at this time, we'll ask our clerk to read the motion, please.
Yes, the motion on the floor is now that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated November 17th, 2025 regarding the follow-up report on the upcoming changes to recycling programming that will impact industrial, commercial, and institutional properties, ICI, in the Township of North Huron effective January 1st, 2026. And further, that council directs staff to proceed with options number 2 and number 3 as identified in staff report PW 2025-37 regarding the collection option for industrial, commercial, and institutional properties within the boundaries of the Township of North Huron as of January 1st, 2026. So your movers, Councillor Palmer, your seconders, Councillor Wright.
Okay. Question with that? Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. The potential locations are only Wingham and Blythe, and we have the Belgrave Arena as an ICI too. So can there be one there too? Or does that?
Logistically, I think we could do that. Like staff have heard council's concerns regarding that.
Okay.
So for example, like the 3 in Wingham, well, one's at Town Hall and one's at the Public Works Yard. That's in close proximity to each other. You could potentially still get away with 5 and move one of the ones from Wingham to perhaps the Belgrave Community Center if the board was in favor of that. That's the potential locations. Staff would have to work with Waste Management on where they think suitable locations are as well as considering things like winter maintenance operations and traffic flow and all that. So.
Yeah, my only concern with that, I like the idea of having one in Belgrave, but my only concern with that is all the other locations have Public Works people there available, that if we wanted to lock the bins up at night and weekends and only have, say, hours through the week so that you could, or through the day, so you could monitor what goes into those dumpsters a bit better. Where if you put one at the Belgrave Arena, that you don't have that ability to monitor its use. I think someone's going to maybe be a lot more careful about, going up to a bin up beside the public's work yard and throwing a couple bags of garbage in the recycling bin, knowing there's people inside, right? But something, if it's open 24/7, say in Belgrave at the arena where it's not monitored at all. I'd like the idea of a location in Belgrave, just that's my only concern about having an unsupervised location like that.
There's cameras all around the Belgrave Arena.
Okay, Deputy Reeve, you had your hand up, please.
Yes, thank you, Reeve. Just wanted some clarity that the original mandate was to remove the recycling cost from the residential taxpayer. The ICIs were, as far as my knowledge is, were never included in that business, in that concession. And we're floating around a dollar value of $8,000. When one of the reports here, the bins are going to be over $25,000. My question is on this motion, there are bins outside this very office. Are they going to be removed? So we don't have to pay for them? Are we then now going to say for the 4 bins that are in behind the commercial Main Street for the restaurant business on the corner, without naming names, are they going to be able to remove them and not have to pay for them now that the taxpayers, the residential taxpayers, are going to be on the hook for their recycling costs? We were given a win for the residential people, and now all we're doing is putting that cost back onto the residential. How this has to be thought out a lot further. If we're going to put bins out, does that mean that the commercial people do not have to have bins on their property?
I think a lot of them have now, but go back to Director Watson said that they're going to work with this and try it for a year and go on. But
that's
maybe
more
I
than-
misunderstood something here.
That's more than 5 bins. There's 4 just behind the one resident or one business. So are we paying for bins? Because if they're going to be putting it into those bins, we're going to need a heck of a lot more than 5 bins.
Okay. Well, we have a motion on the floor. Let's take this to a vote then. We have mover and seconder. All in favor? Defeated. Okay, we need somebody else put a motion on. Go ahead, Deputy Reed, please.
I'll put forward a motion that we need more information to defer this, because to say that we're going to do something and have our own idea of how many bins it's going to take and how much resources it's actually going to, I think we need a whole costing of it, not just random numbers thrown out. So if I will put a motion to defer this for more information, I'm not against, but I can't make the decision on the information that we have.
Just wondering if our treasurer could,
Through you, Reeve, to Deputy Reeve Faulkner. There are also municipalities, because we're going to be losing that bag tag revenue stream when the wheelie bins come in for the garbage. Some of them are adding on a garbage fee to the tax bill and a garbage and recycling fee. And then for ICI properties that have their own services, they can prove that they're paying for their own and have that charge removed. But that is one way in terms of how you were mentioning allocating that fiscal responsibility to the properties. It gets laid out that way.
Would that costing of them removing those bins or getting that back be less than what there would be on their taxes for the wheelie bin? Like
That's what we would have to cost out. What's the overall cost of providing that service versus what is the equivalent charge that would need to go on the tax bills?
So again, without knowing that, I can't.
The other thing, I guess, just to point out to council, I can certainly appreciate the lack of information. And quite frankly, a lot of the provider or the collectors don't have full plans. And so then staff, we haven't necessarily been able to get full plans. But the unfortunate thing is, the longer you continue to, I guess, defer a decision, you're effectively almost selecting option one because January 1st is going to be right around the corner. And we need to get some sort of notice out to these ICIs. So I guess the point I want to make is we just need to be cognizant of not selecting anything for long enough, because there won't be adequate time to put something in place for January 1st if you were wanting to, right? So if we needed to get bins like in option 2 or option 3, the lead up time is going to be a little bit too. So we are a little bit up against the clock, unfortunately. So staff do really require some sort of direction, so then we could let the ICIs know in case they need to then get their own arrangements as well, because we have the agreement where we can continue to co-collect until December, but we know after that we either need to do something or they're going to have to figure out their own arrangements, and we don't want to leave all these ICIs scrambling if they need to do something.
Okay, Councillor Wright had your hand
Yeah,
up.
thanks, through you, Reeve. Perhaps I'm missing something. I think at the last meeting too, there's some relationship mentioned between the change of the recycling program and the loss of bag tags, which I don't understand. Bag tags are garbage and not recycling. So how's that tie together?
Through you, Reeve, to Councillor Wright. They, in conversation with Waste Management, they are talking about rolling those programs out at the same time. So when they deliver the garbage wheelies, they'll deliver the recycling wheelie bins at the same time. So from a logistics perspective, some of that is going to change. So we have to go through that process to understand how we are going to change that revenue stream on the garbage component. And do we want to reflect something like that earlier with the Jan 1 piece for the recycling component if we're going to be incurring costs now to provide that service? Would we parse that out?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know about the rest of council. That's the first I'm hearing that we're losing, that our garbage collection is changing too. Am I the only one? I hope not. But was always talking about ICI was for recycling collection. Well, but you're saying it does change garbage collection potentially, right? Or not? Are we getting wheelie bins for garbage and recycling, or just recycling?
So the township has a curbside garbage collection until April of 2026. In early 2026, you'll have to go out to tender or RFP for bidders for that service. Our current provider, which was the only submission we received when it was up for renewal last time, has indicated that they will be requiring automated bins in any new contract. Like Director Watson said, the lead up time for that is still Q4 of 2026 at the earliest. They have to figure out how many trucks they need for automated collection. North Huron is one of their few remaining areas left that has two individuals in the truck manually collecting them. So that change is coming in the industry, and we became aware of that as we continued to ask questions through the recycling process, but the two aren't necessarily intertwined. There's a separate contract.
Go ahead.
So Reeve, yeah, okay, I'll put just option 3 on the floor as a motion. It's probably the lowest cost option of doing something, and I really think that if we don't provide some facilities to put their recycling in, it will just all go to landfill.
Yeah, I'll ask clerk to read this, please. Yeah, seconder. Do I have a seconder for option 3? Councillor Van Hitterson seconds. Yes.
Thank you, Reeve. Yeah, option 3 is certainly a consideration, but it'll be difficult for some of the merchants, say in Blythe. It's a longer drive, so it could inhibit what they do. That's my biggest concern. In Wingham, it wouldn't be that so much of an issue, or East Wanash, I wouldn't think. But for Blythe, it would be.
Comment, Deputy Reid, please.
Okay, comments for the Blythe, commercial, the variety store, the grocery store, the restaurants, the pizza joint, the Legion, that they have their own bins,
Big bins,
big bins.
so they're paying for it now?
Yeah, they always have been. So putting that back onto the taxpayer,
Didn't know.
but it's the same in Walnut Ward and same in the Wingham Ward. I don't see where, we're trying to make amends for something that was never our problem to begin with.
Okay, go ahead.
But in Wingham, you do see the blue boxes out in front of every store. They slide them out. Every store does it, so they're not doing it themselves at this point. In Blythe, I have no idea, you're saying that, so I guess that's the case. Now, is that garbage or recycles? Well, okay, or is it all going into one?
4 bins, I can't see.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, that's
They have to pay for it, but.
okay, if they're doing that there,
Mhm.
so be it. But in Wingham, they slide it out onto beside the road.
Okay.
So they have to be taken care of in one way or the other, or they do it themselves.
Okay, we're going to go to clerk, please.
So the motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated November 17, 2025, regarding the follow-up report on the upcoming changes to recycling programming that will impact industrial, commercial, and institutional properties, ICIs, in the Township of North Huron effective January 1st, 2026. And further, that council directs staff to proceed with option number 3 as identified in staff report PW 2025-37 regarding the collection option for industrial, commercial, and institutional ICI properties within the boundaries of the Township of North Huron as of January 1st, 2026. Your mover is Councilor Wright and your seconder is Councilor Van Henderson.
Okay. All in favor? Defeated. Okay. Another option, please. Go ahead, Councillor Van Henderson, please.
Well, I can't believe that we can't come up with a solution that doesn't cost our taxpayers, that they have to pay for recycling, that is that the province has mandated that the producers have to take care of. So it's just
You're,
hard to believe.
you're saying option 1 there, Councillor Van Henderson, then please?
Point of order.
Yes.
I had a motion on the floor. I was seeking a seconder about requiring more information on the cost.
Yes, you're right.
That's right. Sorry, you're right. Okay, we have that motion. Was it moved in second? You have a mover? Seconder? Okay. Councillor Whitfield? All in favor? Okay,
So the motion would be that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby defers the matter until more information becomes available.
Question, go ahead. Should there be a time limit on that, considering what the director, Carson said,
Well,
suggested? Because we're running out of time.
that is true, but unfortunately, you deferred it so more information could come forward. We brought forward the more information that was available to us at the time, right? We are at the whims of the collectors and the rest of these parties involved to figure out what all this looks like before we potentially have more information. So we may not have more information until January. There's no necessary way to know. And that's kind of what I was saying before, by almost not making a decision, you are effectively making a decision come Jan 1.
okay, go ahead.
Starting to sound like a Rush song. Then I'll put forward the motion, motion 1.
Well, yours, though, gonna deal with it.
Well,
Yeah, so there's currently a motion on the floor,
I didn't
which
get a
is,
seconder. I didn't.
yeah, so
Oh, no, sorry, I didn't see you.
Yeah, so the motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby defers the matter until more information becomes available. Deputy Falconer is the mover and Councillor Whitfield is the seconder.
All in favor?
I just,
Okay. Okay. Go ahead, Treasurer.
through you, Reeve, I would just like to maybe expand on option 3 there. That one was presented to be able to have a place for people to take their recycling should they don't have their own solution in place, as well as require a user fee for taking your recycling there. So the intent of option 3 would be to provide an option for people to take their recycling that is cost neutral, because there would be a charge to them for taking their recycling there versus having their own arrangement.
User fee, okay?
Do we not currently have that at the waste management or at the dump? Commercial never could go there.
Okay,
I would like to then put another, the motion 1 on the table, as it reads there. Do nothing is no longer the municipal mandate under legislation. The ICI properties are now entirely responsible for the removal and the costs recycling for their properties, the businesses to the necessary depots as they were prior. We're not
Okay.
changing anything.
mover, and do we have a seconder? Councillor Van Henderson seconds it. We'll call this to a vote. Any questions? Vote in favor? Let me see, come on, you gotta put them up. Defeated. Did, okay. Okay, so I gotta go. Another.
So you have put options 2 and 3 together. You've put option 3. You've put defer. You've put option 1. So the only option you haven't put exclusive is option 2.
Okay, may I ask a question to our treasurer? Did count the number 3 there at the end where it comes as user pay to go out to the dump to put your recycled stuff there? Is that permissible? That's permissible to have a scale, whatever, the way that, and put it in a bin there?
Through you, Reeve, my understanding is that we would have to have separate bins for ICI from residential. They just are not allowing the mixing of that recycling
Right.
anymore.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yes.
But that would be at the cost of the municipality.
Yes. It's what I mean. That'd be user pay.
No,
Well,
cost of the township still have to have the bins and take it, we have to pay for it to take it away.
no, I thought,
Yes, thank through you, Reeve. It's supposed to be cost neutral because the cost you pay to go across the scales is supposed to offset the cost of renting the recycling bins. And again, the simple fact is there's going to be a lot of waste go to the dump. They're going to pay their tipping fee to get in, and either that goes into landfill or it goes into recycling. And if we don't have recycling available to them, it's going to go into the landfill. Right? And if you're on council long enough, we're gonna have to start dealing with what are we gonna do with a new landfill, because a landfill. So to pretend there isn't a cost to the municipality by putting recyclable materials into the landfill is not recognizing the fact that does cost us. We will have to pay for a new landfill. So I would like to put option 3 on the put option 3 on the table again, Reeve. Why not? Let's see if second time's the charm for it. I'll make a motion that we go with option 3. I don't know. Knowing the fact that the idea is that it's supposed to be at no cost to the municipality, that it's supposed to be revenue neutral or cost neutral.
okay. Yeah. Right. Go ahead, CEO.
What's that?
Yeah, so just in terms of the process to put forward a motion that you've already defeated, you need a
Well, we're
motion
paying
to
for the bin.
reconsider. So then from the motion to reconsider that decision, you still would need, I believe, 2/3 of council support.
Yes, because it's in within 1 year, it has to be 2/3, and the reconsideration motion has to be moved by someone who was dissenting of the original one.
Okay. Yeah. So, but I'm sorry, I guess I missed it that there's going to be a spot in the number 3 where it's user pay when they go over the scale. So in other words, they're paying one way or another for getting their recycled material there, right? Am I understanding that right? By the two there that, okay. Okay. Counselor Palmer.
I think one thing we didn't consider about option 2 is maybe a flat rate charged to them on their taxes. Like, you know, is that an option too, option as well? That way, at least some of the cost is covered. Because they're gonna pay, if they're left on their own, to their own devices, they're gonna pay.
Mhm.
And so this way they could pay probably a little bit less and still everyone's happier.
Go ahead, Deputy Reed, please.
So in the context that you proposed, someone coming across the scale with 3 bins of cardboard, paying $20 dumping fee for the weight, and then we're getting charged $300 a dump for each bin. The $20 doesn't go very far. Right?
Help me out here.
You have a motion?
Yeah, so
No.
basically your options are, so if someone who voted against the motion to defeat option 3 can put forward a motion to reconsider, it would be a recorded vote, and you need 2/3 majority. So that, in this case, that's 4 out of 6. And then after that, your next item would be to put that motion forward. Or option 2 hasn't been put forward, or quite frankly, if you're not ready to make a decision, you could receive the report for information purposes.
Okay, go ahead, Counselor Palmer.
Okay, I have to ask, is Councillor Wright's motion live right now or not? Okay,
There's no motion on the floor.
okay. So I'd like to make a motion of option 2 with with an amendment to it, change that there is everything as is written, but I still like the idea of a fee that they're tagged with yet, like on their taxes or whatever. It would have to work. They'd have to be happy with it because they're gonna have to spend big bucks otherwise. And this way could be cheaper for them. And the fee would have to be decided by,
Can I ask a
staff.
question? Is that actually possible to, I don't think we have, as a municipality, have the power to levy a new tax on commercial and institutional users for recycling cost
oh, no,
purposes,
I
do we?
don't know.
Okay. I'll ask our CAO to,
Yeah. Whether you call it a tax, I think through you, Reeve, the consideration if the township would set up their own levels of service. You're creating a service that's not mandated under legislation, so you're creating your own new option. So you create a fees and charges, a cost to provide this outside service beyond our mandate. So you could charge technically what looks like would be another investigation of what is the overall costs to be provided through that. But it's a level of service you're establishing for the township. It's not something that's being repeated in other communities that we're aware of at this time. But to try to relate it to your existing bag tags, again, not every community across the province had bag tag costs for garbage. You're creating a recycle tag basically for a service that goes beyond our residential or our needs through the province.
Yeah, and that's my concern is you'd have to set up an entire process for monitoring dumpster use, charging the fees, et cetera. Or if you put the dumpsters at the dump, you've already got a person there who's actually doing that already, is, monitoring, the flow of waste and making sure it goes into the right spot and collecting fees.
Have you? Deputy Reeve.
Thank you. Through you, Reeve. We're debating on what to do about a situation of someone that, of businesses that were skirting the mandated ICI, that they were responsible for their manufacturers responsible for, and we're trying to put that back on the taxpayer. If we start putting a tax on the businesses that they don't already pay now, they're just going to circumvent the system that they're already circumventing. And the landfill will get filled up because they don't want to pay for that service that they're not paying for now. So we're trying to invent something that's not our responsibility.
Okay,
So Counselor Palmer, if this isn't what you're looking for in your motion, let me know, but it would be something along the lines of that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report of the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated November 17th, 2025 regarding the follow-up report on the upcoming changes to recycling programming that will impact industrial, commercial, and institutional properties, ICIs, in the Township of North Huron effective January 1st, 2026. And further, that council directs staff to proceed with option number 2 as identified in staff report PW 2025-37 regarding the collection option for industrial, commercial, and institutional ICI properties within the boundaries of the Township of North Huron as of January 1st, 2026, subject to an amendment to charge a recovery fee from the ICI users if legislatively permissible.
okay. Counselor Palmer, that's what you want? Okay. Seconder? No, second, okay. Deputy Reeve, go ahead.
What charges are permissible under the ICI for municipalities to recoup that?
I'll ask our treasurer. This is a whole new game, as we can tell from the discussion that's going on here, so we just have to bear with it. Thank you.
Through you, Reeve, to Deputy Reeve Faulkner. Multiple ways to collect revenue on those. So whether we go from a user pay basis or from a taxation basis, even from a taxation basis, the way that I've seen some examples and the way people are doing it is if you are already one of those industries and businesses that have been managing your own, how do you get exempted from that process? But there would be quite a substantial administrative burden to managing that and to maintaining the list of those who have their own contracts and who do not, and how to sort of equitably distribute those charges. So that would also be a bit of a cost consideration. Not necessarily an external third-party cost, but that would be time and resources and potentially staffing resource cost.
Yeah, just to follow up then, Reeve, the question would be through your chair. What message is this council sending to the businesses that have currently and historically paid for their own bins because it was their responsibility? Are we laughing in their faces saying that they were stupid to do it and they should have just put it out and snuck it in out front? How do we amend their and take care of their costs in the past?
Okay. So only way through this is option 1, I take it, but
You've put option 1 on the floor and it was defeated. So you have option 2 without an amendment. So you could put option 2 as it was presented. Yes. Yeah. No, you have had option 2 and 3 combined, followed by option 3 as a standalone, followed by a motion to defer, followed by option 1, followed by option 2, subject to the amendment. So kind of what I said before, that leaves you with option 2 without any amendments, or you could pass a motion to receive it for information purposes.
Well,
Councilor Wright.
I vote against option 1, so I would make a motion to consider option 1. My
intention though is to then make an amendment that we won't wait a full year for a report to come back to council. We have a follow-up report in February, because it seems to be a quickly changing game, and that was one of the things I didn't like about option one. So, I know that I can't make two things at once, so I'll just start with an option B, send it option one, but that council knows that's my intention. Change to that.
Seconded by, seconded.
So this will be a recorded vote. So again, the motion being moved by Councillor Wright and seconded by Deputy Falconer is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby reconsiders its previous decision regarding option one.
Yes, go ahead.
For those merchants that now put out their little blue box on Main Street, they can't go to the dump because commercial's not allowed there for recycle. And so what are they left with? They have to hire a bin, get their own bin. So how many bins does every store want? One of these big guys that the truck lifts up? We're going to be inundated with bins. So we have to be careful of that. Every store should have their own
Sure
bin.
they can talk too. You know, that's always that option. Communicate with your neighboring
Share,
commissioner,
possibly.
for sure. So,
So again, just on the motion to reconsider, you're not supposed to really be engaging in debate on this,
Sorry.
just the merits on whether you want to reconsider that decision. So again, it's a recorded vote. You require 2/3 majority because it's within 1 year of the decision. So I'll now call the recorded vote. So Deputy Falconer,
Yes.
Councillor Palmer,
Okay, yes.
Councillor Van Hittersum,
Yes.
Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Wright,
Yes.
and Reeve Heffer.
yes,
So that motion carries 6-0. So your next motion on the floor is that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby receives the report from the Director of Public Works and Facilities dated November 17th, 2025 regarding the follow-up report on the upcoming changes to recycling programming that will impact industrial, commercial, and institutional properties, ICIs, in the Township of North Huron effective January 1st, 2026. And further, that council directs staff to proceed with option number one as identified in staff report PW 2025-37 regarding the collection option for industrial, commercial, and institutional ICI properties within the boundaries of the Township of North Huron as of January 1st, 2026.
Councillor Wright, okay, Councillor Kay. Okay. Councillor Deputy Reeve, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. My actual motion though was to amend that to, bring a report back in February 2026, because I would like to understand, there could be more surveys done to the downtown businesses, understand the impacts and those things.
I'll just let Clerk Lamb read on the add-on.
Yeah, so the additional part to the motion is, and further that a follow-up report be presented to council in early 2026.
Fine. Okay,
Fine with you.
okay. All in favor? Carried. Unanimous. At this time, we're going to move to 6.5.1 BE 2025-07 Bylaw Enforcement Animal Control Services in North Huron. Are there any questions for Chief Kreger at this time? Seeing none? Councillor Van Itterson moves, seconder. Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. 6.6.1 CS 2025-17 Blythe Community Betterment Committee requests to hold a Blythe New Year's Eve fireworks display. Are there any questions for our CAO? May I have a mover? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Wright, all in favor? Carried. Are there any notice of motions? Seeing none. Bylaw number 80, 2025, parkland dedication in cash in lieu of parkland bylaw. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeves, seconder. Counselor Van Hitterson, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 81 2025, 2026 fees and charges bylaw. May I have a mover? Counselor Palmer, Counselor Wright, all in favor? Carried. Going on to number 11, Reeves Activity Report, Remembrance Day Service, just gave greetings from the municipality, and I just want to say kudos out to the Lions for, the Lions for the Legion for putting out all the work that they did there down at the cenotaph. And then afterwards, what they did there, just very, very much appreciated. That takes a lot of planning and just, it was very much appreciated by those that were there. Again, the Silver Stick was on this last week. Got to mention greetings there at the Friday night game, and they put on 30 games on the sort of like 3 days and plus an extra night there. And it was 30 games. Everything went. The place looked great and clean, and it's just great seeing all the people it takes to keep that that tournament going. It was good to see that, and no negative complaints at all. It's just so nice seeing that. And just was mentioned, I'm sure somebody would mention the volunteer night, but I just want to thank the volunteers for the BIA for putting the greenery on, going up the main street. Just a little thing like that can really make the front of those stores look good. It just good to see that. And again, I just wanted to say kudos out to the Advance Fund. Just thank you for the work that they did. And I know North Huron's really appreciative of that. That's my report. Now I'll turn to council member board and committee reports. Go ahead, Councillor Van Hitterson.
Thank you very much, Reeve. I would like to thank the Blight Legion for putting up another fantastic remembrance service. Jim Button did a remarkable job instead of our Councillor McBurney, and Reverend Todd had some really moving words. It was a really perfect ceremony.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Yeah, thank you, Reeve. This is about the volunteer night. I know there was a few of us there, and it was so good. Like there was something like 26 individuals that spoke about what their volunteer group did from the different communities, and it just gave you that warm and fuzzy feeling how many volunteers there are out there. And it didn't catch them all. I know that there were some that were not mentioned, and which is fine. But anyways, the bulk of them were mentioned, and we are so blessed to have a municipality that is so chock full of volunteers, because they make a difference.
That they do. Okay. You go ahead, Deputy Reeve, please.
Yes, I'd like to just also add to the volunteer showcase of how impressive I felt it was. And there was, as you spoke, there was about 20 other volunteers organizations that didn't have enough time or didn't participate in the showcase. To me, for the amount of people we have in our municipality, the things that were going on in these the projects that they were taking on and the responsibilities that these volunteers were associated with, you would have swore you were talking about a single town or a single city of 25,000 people. Mm-hmm. With the amount of energy that the people put into volunteering in this area, and it's a testament to just how great of a municipality we live in. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other comments by members? Seeing none, our next Regular council meeting will be held Monday, December 1, 2025 at 6 PM in the North Huron Council Chambers. The next Wingham BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, November 20th, 2025 at 6:30 at the Hot Stove Lounge in North Huron West Cass Community Complex. The next Blythe BIA Board meeting will be held on Thursday, November 27th, 2025 at 8 AM. First floor meeting room at the Blythe and District Community. Are there any other announcements? Seeing none, closed session and reporting out that the Council of Township of North Huron hereby proceeds at 7:45 to an in-camera session, closed to the public under section 239 2B of the Municipal Act to discuss the following personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. CAO annual performance review, and further that the chief administrating officer remain in attendance. May I have a mover? Councillor Van Hitterson, Councillor Whitfield, all in favor? Carried. So at this time, we'll take a 5-minute break as the cameras get set up. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. I know it was a long, drawn-out meeting. At this time, we'll ask CEO to report out. Close, please.
Just confirm that the Council Township of North Huron moved into closed session to deal with matter under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Acts to discuss the following personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal, local board, or employees, specifically to deal with the issue regarding the CAO annual performance review, and information was received. No further action was taken.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to 14.1 bylaw number 82-2025 conformity bylaw. May I have a mover? Deputy Reeve, Councillor Palmer, all in favor? Carried. Adjournment that the Council of the Township of North Huron agree that there being no further business before council, the November 17th, 2025 regular council meeting will be here adjourned at 8:42. May I have a mover? Councillor Wright, Councillor Whitfield, and all in favor. Just one of you, both your hands went up there. Okay. Carried.